Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2022 Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid, which Chrysler proudly proclaims is America's only plug-in hybrid minivan. The minivan segment has always been a little stale and uninspiring, but things are really heating up with the new Kia Carnival, which proves that a minivan can both be practical and stylish. So the base trim of this starts at about $46,000, which is $11,000 more than the non-hybrid version. A very, very steep price increase there. But it does come standard with things like leather seats. You also get heated seats. You also get a surround view camera, front and rear parking sensors, and all of the tech you really want. Adaptive cruise control, all that comes in the base trim with that $46,000 price tag. This makes the Pacifica Hybrid the most expensive vehicle in the minivan segment by a pretty large margin. The trim I have here is actually the limited trim, which gives you additional goodies such as the ventilated seats. You also get a pano sunroof, and you also get some Nappa leather, which is actually really nice and very comfortable. Pretty luxurious on the inside compared to what you would expect in something like the Honda Odyssey, Toyota Sienna. The Pacifica Hybrid Limited trim comes to an as-tested price of about $58,000, which is a lot for a minivan. The good news here, though, is that you do have access to a $7,500 federal tax credit because this is a plug-in hybrid vehicle. Additionally, you are probably going to save about $1,000 or so per year, given the fact that this gets some great mileage over the gas equivalent of this. All Pacifica hybrids come with a 3.6-liter V6 engine with 2 electric motors as well. This gives you horsepower figures about 260 horsepower and gives you 0 to 60 times of about 7.8 seconds, which sounds a little sluggish, but actually is not when you have that electric torque. This engine is mated to an electrically variable transmission with only front-wheel drive available. So across all the Pacifica hybrids, you cannot get all-wheel drive. That is a major difference between the hybrid equivalent and the non-hybrid version of the Pacifica. This gets you 30 combined miles per gallon, which is 8 more than the non-hybrid version, so you're going to be saving a lot of gas with that. Chrysler also claims that this gives you 32 miles of full electric range, and your total gas tank will have about 520 miles of range on a full tank. That is very impressive. So taking a look at the exterior of this car, the Pacifica has remained very simple and pretty understated throughout the entire history of its lineage. This one here is in the ceramic gray color, which is a $500 option. I think it looks pretty nice. I really like the appearance with the S-Line package, essentially, which adds a lot of that blacked out stuff that you'll see, especially in the front grille. You've got the blacked out Chrysler logo. You have some more blacked out vents. You can see that the ones on the side are fake, but the ones in the middle are definitely real. Chrysler did a light refresh to this model in the 2021 model year, which means that the 2022 doesn't have that many changes, obviously. I think there are a few more standard safety features, but that's pretty much it for the differences between the 2022 and the 2021. When they did the light refresh on the exterior, they gave it a little sleeker headlight design, which definitely looks nicer than the previous model generation. It doesn't look anything special, honestly, in my opinion, but the front is very classic, traditional Chrysler, right? You've got that long extended logo in the front, and then, you know, pretty much the exact same thing you'll find throughout all of their models. You know, the Chrysler 300, they don't have that many other models out there. But yeah, the front looks fine. I'm really not the biggest fan of it. I definitely think if you're going for looks, you want that Kia Carnival, right? That looks a lot better. I think even the new Toyota Sienna looks definitely a lot more fierce and aggressive than the Pacifica. Moving from the front of the car to the side profile, this is a minivan, so it's going to be a pretty long car, and it doesn't really have any aggressive body lines or anything like that, right? But you wouldn't expect that from a minivan. These wheels, though, I think look quite nice. These are 18-inch wheels. They are the aluminum forged wheels that come with the S Appearance package. That S Appearance package really makes this car stand out in the minivan segment, in my opinion. It's a $1,000 package, but it adds a lot of really cool things, such as these wheels, right? In general, with most cars, right, the fancier wheels, they get very expensive. But here, for $1,000, you get some nice S badging all across the car, and you get these really cool wheels. I think these look really sick compared to the normal minivans you see out there, right? Compared to the Kia Carnival, that has some really interesting wheel designs, but compared to the Honda Odyssey, right, this is going to look a lot more unique and stand out in a kind of boring class. You've also got a charging port at the front of the vehicle, as expected, considering this is a plug-in hybrid. This charge port, you can plug in 120 volt, 240, whatever you have at home, essentially. And it does come with its nice blue leaf design on it. This is one of the few places that you actually see that this is the hybrid Pacifica and not the normal Pacifica. The other one you'll see is in the very back here. So here at the rear of the vehicle, you do have that nice blue leaf design again. Honestly, I don't even know if that's a leaf, but it looks pretty nice in my opinion. It does stand out in the sea of gray and black on this vehicle. The Pacifica logo right here also has that S appearance package. So again, the S doesn't actually do anything. It's not like a faster engine or anything like that. It is solely an appearance package, but it does give you some nice badging. And I think it definitely separates this car from the sea of normal Chrysler Pacificas out there. As expected with most minivans, you do not have a visible exhaust pipe or anything like that. It's at the very bottom of this vehicle, so kind of hiding it from sight, making this look more boxy. You do have the Chrysler logo in black in the rear here as well. You can't really see it much with this kind of gray black look in the back, but I think it looks fine. I do like the full rear light bar. Again, that does give it a more distinctive look, and I like that a lot of cars are going towards that overall. Opening the trunk here, you've got the button at the very bottom. Of course, this is a power liftgate as expected, and in here you've got 32.3 cubic feet of cargo space with the third row up. That is very impressive, right? Minivans are really meant to be able to haul people and cargo at the same time, which is obviously why they're so practical. Obviously the looks kind of suffer a bit, but overall it's a trade-off that you have to make for the practicality of this. Personally, I think the Pacifica is due for a redesign to keep it looking more modern like the competitors, such as the Kia Carnival and the Toyota Sienna. So going into the interior of the Pacifica Hybrid, this is a part that I do think stands out compared to most of the other vehicles in this segment. One of the things that you will immediately notice here is that it's a relatively quiet cabin. I do think there's a bit of road noise and stuff like that that kind of seeps in, but it's a pretty isolated ride like you would want in a minivan. And looking around the cabin, at a first glance, I do think you see some nice materials and a smart, practical use of, you know, buttons and things like that. You do have the star of the interior refresh last year is the 10.1-inch Uconnect infotainment system. This is running Uconnect 5, which is a lot nicer than Uconnect 4, as I'm sure most of you guys will notice. If you want to check out my Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 review, that one is using the old Uconnect system, and this one just looks a lot nicer. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Those are standard, and I mean, just looking at how responsive this is, like, this is a very nice system. You do have built-in navigation for the limited trim here, and you know, overall, I mean, this is pretty impressive. I definitely like this system a lot. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay, but you can see here it is a bit finicky. I have had some issues getting it to work and load in the past, but you can see we've got the surround view camera right here. Not the greatest camera quality in my opinion, but still not bad. You do have a lot of different views you can go to here. And as you can also see in that same menu, you've got fan cam. This one is pretty cool. You can see all the junk I have in the back seats here, but you know, with the third row up, you have your captain's chairs there, and then you have the third row right here. And it's pretty nice. You can see a lot of stuff inside the cabin, and you can check on your kids and stuff like that. So definitely useful for a minivan. And you have all the apps here. And I mean, it's fast, right? Like, this is easy to use. You have your drop down here, and you can kind of have shortcuts up here. So you do have the surround view camera here. There's fan cam. There's the activated voice control. You have temperature, things like that. I will say the one thing I don't like about this is the fact that you know, heated ventilated seats right here. These all are touch buttons. So of course you can't use any of these unless you are actually looking at the screen, unless you're just very good at touching things without actually being able to see them. So that's definitely one thing that I think people won't like, is that there's no actual physical switches for ventilated or heated seats, which I definitely think is a knock on the vehicle in my opinion. So you do have parking sensors front and rear. Here are some traction control, lane keep warning. This is the parking assist, so this will park for you in perpendicular spots and parallel spots and stuff like that. Your HVAC stuff is right here. I think this looks a little outdated at this point in my opinion, even though this is actually part of the new refresh. I do like this. This looks very sleek, very easy to use. And you know, overall, this is a pretty good looking center stack here. Moving on to the rest of the center console stack area, you do have two cup holders here and a host of USB ports there, both USB-C and USB-A. You do have a wireless Qi charging pad right here, which is nice. You've got some storage right there. You also got some storage underneath here, as expected for a minivan. Tons of different storage compartments. You do have some here, as well as a charger and an actual 12-volt outlet. You have some storage here as well, which I thought was really interesting. And look, USB rear controls right here as well. So definitely a lot of practicality in this vehicle. This is going to be one of the most popular vehicles for you know, large families. You do have a you know, relatively large center display here that is digital, but you do still have an analog, things on the sides, which is actually pretty interesting here. Actually, if you'll notice, this is the hybrid version, so it's not going to be your speedometer or anything like that. This is going to be your power and charge. You've got the fuel on the other side, and those aren't configurable. You do see here's a lot of range. I'm out of battery right here, so you can kind of see, if I zoom in here, that it'll tell you how much range you have left pretty easily, and that's all configurable. The part inside here is going to be completely configurable. I think Fiat does a really good job of this in general, or Stellantis, I mean. They do a really good job of being able to configure every single corner of the screen here. And you can kind of see using the controls right here, you can kind of go through the various things here. That was slow, but going through here, this is a really nice system. I think it's very intuitive, easy to use, and on that very last page, you do have the screen set up, and this is really easy to use. You can kind of configure everything you want. So I don't know, personally, I'm a big fan of it, but I know not everyone, it doesn't look the most high-tech, I guess. The steering wheel is fine, it's easy to use, it's bulky, definitely feels heavy, definitely lets you realize that you are definitely driving a large vehicle. You do have adaptive cruise control on this car, so you have the many settings here. Moving on to the left side of the steering wheel here, you do have your light settings, pretty typical, and of course your gauge cluster lighting and things like that. Moving on to the door panels, this is part that I think is a little sad in this vehicle, right? At the price points, you do have some nice leather armrests here, but everything else is going to be plastic. And I mean, these just don't look nice. These switch knobs really do not look nice. So that was something that kind of disappointed me at the price points. But you do have Harman Kardon sound system, and it's a 20-speaker sound system. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound very good. I'll zoom into this one over here so you can kind of see it. It looks nice, but it really doesn't sound that great. And I was kind of disappointed with 20 speakers throughout the entire cabin. I would expect it to sound a lot more full and rich, but it really felt like it was pretty hollow. So finally, going to the star of the interior, in my opinion, is these seats. You've got this S logo here. I really don't understand the purpose of this. Like, is it supposed to be sporty or something? But it looks nice. You do have armrests for both the front passengers, the driver and the passenger, of course. And I mean, overall, these seats look nice. I like them. They're very well bolstered, I will say. These are called Napa leather bucket seats. I really don't know if I consider these bucket seats, but it feels like these days everything is considered a bucket seat. You have some nice white contrast stitching, and you got this white trim on the side as well. I think these seats look very nice. I think they look way better than the normal Pacifica. And you might notice before we go to the rear seats here, you've got a large dual panes pano sunroof here, and you do have a digital display here. So that is pretty nice for the rear passengers. They have their own climate controls, and it's a digital display. That's pretty neat. You do have all of the controls up here for opening things, and of course all of the doors are going to be one touch and automatic as well, which is definitely a nice luxury feature for people who are using a minivan very frequently. All right, let's head to the rear seats, which are very important for a minivan, obviously. So one thing to note here is that you do have two-way memory for the driver, and you also do have some nice seat controls for power adjustability seat controls for the driver and the passenger. So one touch, all of this opens very easily. Not fast or slow, good speed. I will say I'm surprised that you don't have a something that allows you to get in a little easier. This does have a pretty high ride height. And going in, the first thing that you'll notice here, obviously, is going to be this nice large screen here for both the captain's chairs in the back here. So really nice places to be, right? You've got, and these people also have a armrest on both sides. So like, this is a really nice place to spend time. These seats are definitely not configured to how I would like it, but I mean, you have ample legroom in the second row. The captain's chairs are probably the best seats in the actual car, honestly. You do have this really nice screen here. You can kind of see that it has Alexa integration, and it's fast, it's responsive, it's easy to use. Yeah, I'll need to set up the remote and stuff like that, but yeah, like I really like these screens and they're very helpful. You've also got nice things you can plug in here, so you can charge things, display things on the actual screen. It is very nice. You've got more cup holders back here, and I mean, just a host of impressive things. You also do have, as you'll notice right here, a sunshade, which is pretty nice right now, considering it is quite sunny in my face, and this is really hard to do with one hand, but there we go, protecting me from the sun. Now we can go into the third row seats here. I really do think the captain's chairs are probably the best place to be. You've still got that white trim across the seats. No S logo, of course, here though, as expected. But you'll notice, I mean, with the sun shining here, right, this plastic just doesn't look very good, right? Like I feel like going into these second row seats, you really start to feel like you're in a much more economy car, essentially, and not something that feels extra luxurious, even though I will say the seats are really nice. So going into the third row here, let's see how cramped they are. This is actually my first time back here. You've got some nice charge ports here as well, some USB-C and USB-A. You do have not a digital display, that would be pretty incredible for a third row passenger, but I mean, tons of space. This is really impressive. I mean, even adults here would be very happy. So I think overall, this vehicle really shows you that, I mean, you can fit even in the middle. Okay, the middle, definitely not somewhere I want to be. It's a little tight, but you know, you could easily fit 6 adults here for a road trip, and I think people would be comfortable. Look at that huge panel sunroof you can see as well. I think people would really like this. And you've also got sunshades in the third row as well. All right, so driving this car through some pretty suburban streets here, it's a nice ride. I will say it's very cushy, it's compliant, it's supple. I really like the quality of this car. I think they did a great job with the chassis, and they made it feel exactly how a minivan should feel, right? It's not sporty in the least. Its body roll is crazy. You don't want to, you know, throw this thing in corners and things like that, but that's not what people are going to do in minivans anyways. So ultimately, they did a great job making this comfortable for every passenger, right? Those the theater package in the back, that's how you get those nice rear seat entertainment things. That is the Uconnect theater package. That's about $2,400 option, I believe, and well worth it if you have kids that you need to entertain, obviously. But you know, overall, I mean, like I really like the ride quality of this car. Road noise and wind noise is a little bit of a problem above like 70 miles per hour, but it's really not bad. I mean, it's better than something like the RAV4, but it's not going to be as nice as a super luxury vehicle. So this is a good middle ground, you know, like, and it is expensive. I will say that's the thing. Like, the hybrid is going to be quite pricey. The top trim, the Pinnacle trim, comes with these really gorgeous like brown Napa leather seats, and I mean, it's a little excessive, I think, for something like this. And like, the problem is you're still going to get stuff like the plastic on the sides of the vehicle, and I think that's going to prevent this car from really looking too premium. In terms of practicality, I really do think that the Chrysler Pacifica, especially the hybrid, is going to be the top choice. I mean, you have 500 miles of range on one gas a tank. That is very impressive. And if you can charge this every single night, 30 miles of all electric range, like a lot of people's commutes are going to be less than 30 miles, right? So that'll be really nice for people who are able to, you know, get a short commute and basically never pay for gas. But yeah, sitting here at a stoplight, I mean, this is comfortable. It's a quiet cruiser, right? Like and these seats, I wouldn't say they're most comfortable thing. They are very well bolstered. I think the seats grew on me at the beginning. I felt like they were a little too firm, honestly, but over time, I think they're pretty good. The lumbar support wasn't my favorite, so I kind of made that the least possible, you know, lumbar adjustments. But otherwise, I mean, these seats are nice. I love the armrest. I feel like more cars should come with armrests, honestly. But yeah, sitting here at a stoplight, it is quiet. I feel pretty isolated. And I mean, this is an all-around great city cruiser. All right, I'm gonna try and floor it a little bit at this next light. Like I said before, acceleration is a bit sluggish. I mean, at the beginning, it feels really fast, right? You've got that hybrid drivetrain, and you've got the electric throttle response, and that's really nice. So, you know, kind of going here. And you can hear that engine kind of kick in pretty fast. So it's, you know, 45 miles per hour. Like, that's pretty impressive for a large minivan. And I think just overall, cars are getting so much faster than people expect these days. I can say with a lot of confidence that most people will have no concerns about the speed of this car. I think, you know, people think minivan slow, but this has ample passing power and things like that. So if you want a really fast car, obviously this isn't going to be the right fit for you, but you know, this is definitely not going to be underpowered. So overall, this drives well, right? Like, overall, it does everything you want it to do. It is practical. It is a lot of money. That's the thing, is like, this is almost $20,000 more than some other decked out minivans out there. So if you want the hybrid drivetrain though, especially the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, this is your only option. So I mean, Chrysler obviously has that locked down, so they're not worried about competition in that market. But you know, if you want a plug-in hybrid minivan, this is your only option, and it is a strong option. I don't think they skimped out on things. Everything does exactly what it's supposed to do. So that's going to be pretty much it for my Chrysler Pacifica review today. I enjoyed this car more than I expected. I do think it falls flat in certain areas like the exterior and some interior quality concerns, but overall, I mean, and this car actually, I will note, this car does have some reliability concerns as well. That's something that people have mentioned a lot, but overall this car is fine. It's comfortable, easy to drive. The price point is pretty high, but it is the only plug-in hybrid, right? Chrysler really wants you to know that. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you want to check out some other videos of mine, you can click up here and you can subscribe down here. All right, thanks guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.